Okay, so I have my texture, and one of the things I did while I was in the break is I actually changed my gradient to a little different, all right, a slightly different color. I just kind of like playing around with that sort of stuff. That's just me. I'm kind of, there we go. All right, I like that. Actually, I kind of don't, but we're stuck with it for now. All right, so one of the things you want to notice is one of the things I think you'll notice is that as soon as I move the camera, watch what happens. All right, and it doesn't stay rendered. And of course, I want my movie to show in full color all the time. So how am I going to go about doing that? Well, that is called rendering. And part of the reason for that is when you actually have a wireframe, to create that wireframe is a kind of complex mathematical formula, all right, to make it look like it's in perspective. You notice that the screen looks like it's in 3D. Now, when you apply textures and you wrap the texture around, that requires another algorithm. And when you have lighting and bump maps and all these other things in shadow, the more things you're asking the computer to do, the harder it is for the computer to do it. All right? Now, there is a way of seeing in color. That's called OpenGL, which is right here. I'm going to actually click on that screen, and I'm going to go OpenGL. And you do kind of see it, although it doesn't look very good. And you can't really notice this, but it's actually the computer's slowing down a little bit. All right? I want to just be able to play this as a movie so that I can see it anywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to render this movie from file. Now, the most important thing you need to realize, you can't really see this, but as I click on the different windows, a little bit of blue line shows up around the window. I want to have that window, this window, the camera's view, I want to have that one highlighted. And what I want to do is I'm going to have the camera fly around my name. I'm going to create an animation where the camera flies around my name. So you're going to look over here up in this corner here, and this is called the animation panel. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I want to make myself a little movie, all right? And I'm going to insert a keyframe as to where that movie is going to move. So in typical movies, there are 30 images per second. That's how cameras. That's how the camera movie actually produces the illusion of movement. Is it actually creates 30 frames that shows a transition. I'm going to hit record. I'm going to hit enter, and then I'm going to move my camera up like this. Whoops! I have to have the object move tool. I'm going to move my camera up like this, and now you notice that my name moved in the camera eyes view. Watch what happens. Okay. You can see the camera moving. If I activate the camera eye view, watch what happens. Boom. Now, let me explain what this is like. When you were in grammar school, or I assume you're not still doing this, and you had a book and you were bored in class, what you would do is you might draw a little picture of a stick man, and then you draw on the next page, you draw a picture of the same stick man with his arm a little bit up, and then another picture, and what you'd do is you would create a flip book. Well, that's what your computer is doing. The computer is actually putting 30 frames between the first image and the second image. The beauty of using a computer is instead of doing this on your own, is the computer actually draws all the intermediate frames. So I want to put in another 30 frames, so I'm going to type in 60, hit record, hit enter, and I'm going to say, okay, where do I want my camera to be next? I'm going to click on the camera, I'm going to move it like that. All right, and if you look, you're going to see the camera's first going to fly up, and then it's going to fly over. Boom. Up and over. All right, and I'm going to go another 30 frames to 90, record, hit enter, and I'm going to drag the camera over here below, and you're going to hit play. And if you notice that I have the side view, you notice you can see the camera flying around. In order to show my name flying around, I have to click on the camera eye view and do that, and boom. And now you can see the camera flying away. Now, if I render the individual scene, I'm like, okay, this is what it's going to look like at the end, but the problem is I can't get it to play in full color. If I go to the OpenGL mode, it does move around, but I still can't see the background. And if I had cool lighting effects, none of those things would be working either. So how am I going to get this thing to show as an actual movie? All right? And the way to do that is fairly simple. First, and again, remember there are 4 different windows here. I have to click on the camera eye view. Then, down here where it's render scene, I'm going to click and drag up to the button that says render scene to file. I'm going to click on it, and you'll notice that it goes to my desktop. You're always going to save things in your H drive. You should know that by now. And where it says target file, I'm just going to type in name movie. And I'm going to change file type to AVI. All right, so I'm putting namemovie.avi. I'm going to have a width under other. It's going to be 800 by 600. I think that's a good size for it. I want to render all the frames, not the current frame. And I'm going to hit render. Now I'm going to tell you something. If it doesn't ask you what kind of compression you want, you did it wrong. Possibly it means you didn't change it to an AVI file. It's really important you make sure this is an AVI. Otherwise, what you're going to do is you're just going to render like 90 different pictures of the same thing. So let's hit render and see what happens. Okay, no compression, Cinepak by Kodak, that works well. And we're just going to hit render and say OK. All right, and what you'll see is you'll notice that it's actually drawing all the individual images right now, one at a time. Okay, and so what's going to happen is now this is actually the equivalent of you drawing the individual little pictures of the stick figure in each little frame where you move the guy's hand just slightly. All right, that is what this is doing right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this and then I'm going to come back when it's all done so that you can see what's going on. Okay, so it's almost done now. I'm just going to let it finish off so that you can actually see the process of it finishing. All right, so there we go. All right, this is what we have done so far. Now, what we're going to do is once this is finished rendering, I'm going to strongly recommend that you guys upload this image to your YouTube file. All right, that's very, 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 very important that you do that. Okay, so I want you guys to just pay attention. I'm going to show you how I do it, and then you guys are going to do the same thing. All right, so you go to YouTube. Now, you may have to create your own YouTube video. Okay, that's a fact. All right, so I'm just going to click YouTube. And I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to go back to my page. All right, and I'm going to go to up here at the button. Once you create a thing, you can hit upload. And then it brings up something like this. And what I'm going to do is click upload video, browse, and I'm going to go into my I'm going to go into my H drive. And again, it always helps if you remember what you call things. And in my H drive, it should say, I believe, what was it, name.avi? Okay, looks like the computer's having a little problem right now because I'm asking it things to do an awful lot of work all at the same time. Okay, I'm going to click, oh geez, was it name or name movie? Now I can't remember what I called it. I think I called it name.avi. Okay, we're going to find out real quickly. All right, and so what happens is you upload it to YouTube and then you let it play. All right, the next part, we're going to talk about submitting your assignment for grading.